A brave young man was chosen to be resurrected in another world, and was gifted with the magic and protection by the 7 gods. One night, a teenager named Kanzuya passed by a convenience store and saw people running away from a man who was acting violently inside it. He bumped into a woman who ran towards him, then the perpetrator also came out of the convenience store after them. Because of this, he rushed towards the man to stop him on its plan to attack, and gave the women time to run. But he was stabbed in the stomach, and the perpetrator quickly ran away. He was immediately approached by those he saved. While they were crying beside him, he wondered if he was going to die at that moment. But he suddenly woke up in a room which was not familiar to him. He thought that he was just in the hospital, but when the maid noticed him, she burst into tears and immediately approached him. Another unfamiliar woman also came closer, who was worried and hugged him tightly. When he saw his appearance in the mirror, he was shocked and confused because he was a small child, and it was not his real body. From what he heard between the conversation of the maid, named Sylvia, and the woman who was said to be his mother, he had just woken up from a 1-week sleep due to fever. After his mother and Sylvia went out to prepare his food, he realized that he was reincarnated in another world which was similar to the one he read in light novels. He found out that his father's name was Graham, and his mother's name was Sarah, while his sister was named Rain, and they call him Cain. He also found out that his father still had a first wife who was Maria, and they had their children, named Jean and Alec. His father was a high-ranking noble who had his own army. His army protected the borders, including the southern part of Gracia, which was part of the kingdom of Esfort. According to Sylvia, it was a forest full of monsters. So there were also guilds and adventurers in this world who would fight against these monsters. When he discovered that this world was using magic, he became more interested in studying books about it and the kingdom's history. But Rain told him that he needed to be baptized before learning magic, which would be done when he turned 5. But he did not expect that he would be able to learn how to use magic at his current age. His sister was helping him in his studies about the history of the kingdom of Esfort. Since his sister was doing it every day, he learned a lot right away. This includes the first king and its history before building the kingdom, named Yuya, whom he noticed that sounds like a Japanese name. He also learned that there were elves, dwarves, and beast folks in this world. When the day for his baptism had come, he headed to the church together with his parents and Rain. While they were in the carriage, Cain asked Rain on how it felt to be given a status magic. So Rain showed to him her status, and according to their mother, Rain was granted a level 2 protection by the god of magic. His father added that both magic and protection had 5 levels, which amazed Cain. When they arrived at the church, the priest who would baptize him was waiting for him. He also saw the giant statues of the so-called 7 pillar gods. When the priest began to baptize him, Cain heard a laugh. Suddenly, the statues lit up, and this surprised them all. Then Cain was taken to face the 7 pillar gods. According to them, they had been waiting for that day for a long time. Xenom introduced himself as the god of creation. Then he assigned the god of the death and rebirth cycle, named Rhyme, to explain about his reincarnation. Rhyme said that his death was unexpected, because even if he did not stop the man's attack, the perpetrator was supposed to be tripped and the people would take this opportunity to stop and arrest him. After hearing this, Cain seemed to regret his bravery. But Rhyme informed him that since he died while doing something good, the god of earth begged to reincarnate him. She added that she also tried to suppress his memory, but it was restored immediately even though he was only 3 years old. But Cain was thankful that his memory returned immediately because it would be easier for him to learn about this new world and practice magic. When he mentioned his studies in magic, he was approached by the god of magic, named Reno, who told him that she would grant him her protection. Even Xenom, Sarnos, the god of war, Grim, the god of technology, Panam, the god of commerce, and Bella, the god of earth, all decided to grant him their protection. When he got back, his father told him to show his status. But Cain thought that it might cause a problem, so he pretended to have a stomachache. When he found a place to hide, he quickly checked his status, and he was surprised to see that all his magic and protection were all at level 10. He could not believe it because based on his knowledge, the highest level was only level 5. He was worried that someone might see it. Fortunately, Xenom put a status conceal to hide it. As they celebrate his 5th birthday, his father asked him again to show his status. He followed him immediately, but it caused the others to be surprised by what they saw. Only then he realized that he had not fixed it yet, nor used the status conceal on it. And because of this, his father immediately told him not to show it to anyone, because the kingdom might consider him a threat. After having their dinner, he tried to summon a cute creature. But to his horror, he was able to release a monster. At that moment, Parma and Rain passed by and saw it. When the monster was about to attack them, Cain quickly fought it to save them. But the monster managed to get hold of him, and Cain used this chance to return it back to its world. Rime asked Xenom if it was okay to give Cain more than a level 5 magic and protection. Then Xenom said that it was not even enough because by Cain's 16th birthday, he needed to be the strongest denizen in the entire continent, and the time would come when people would need his strength. As part of Cain's 5th birthday celebration, he mentioned his dreams, and one of them was to become an adventurer. Because of this, his father decided to give him a tutor so that he could learn faster on all the things that he needed to learn. So he was introduced to the D-rank adventurers, named Millie, and the elf Nina. Garm gave them 3 years to teach Cain. The first thing they taught him was the proper handling of the sword. But Millie could not believe that Cain was so good at it, and according to Nina, he was even better than her. Because Millie wanted to show that she could not be defeated by a 5-year-old child, she and Cain had a duel. When Cain attacked, Millie was shocked that a 5-year-old child could be so strong and fast. Nina thought that Cain had the protection of the god of war, so Millie decided to give up and asked Nina to teach him magic. But Cain already knew all the basics of magic, because he could even use all the elements, and once again, they could not believe their eyes that Cain could easily do it all. They were even more surprised to see an item box that Cain was holding. Since they knew they could not teach him anymore in that place, Cain begged them to take him outside so they could continue teaching him the intermediate level. After asking the permission of his parents, they immediately left the town. When they found a large rock, Nina told Cain to test it using an intermediate level magic. Cain used the fire fist, and because of its great power, it caused a big damage to the area. After a few moments they felt something approaching them. It turned out to be a killer rabbit. When it attacked Cain, he just avoided it and used an air bullet to attack the creature. Then Nina used her search magic to know if there were other killer rabbits around them. Because Cain was amazed by this magic, he also tried it immediately, and to Nina's surprise, Cain also found out the exact number of killer rabbits that were near them. Cain immediately rushed at these creatures, and they quickly defeated the 3 others. And when Cain was about to chase one that ran towards the forest, Millie stopped him immediately. She warned him that there were many powerful monsters living in this forest. At night, when Cain looked at his status, he could not believe at how much his level had increased, even though his opponents were only killer rabbits. He just found out that the gods made the speed of his leveling up to 100 times. The next day, Millie took him to the guild to ask the receptionist, named Rudy, on what kind of monster was stronger than the killer rabbit. After a while, Cross approached them to invite Millie and Nina to have a drink. Because they rejected his invitation, he tried to use force on Millie, and that was the moment when Cain stopped him from harassing her. He hit Cross's hand, causing him to writhe in pain, and when Cross was about to hit him, Cain just avoided it and kicked his leg. He got up again and attacked, until he was forced to use a sword, but he still could not hit Cain. When Cain blocked his sword using only his hand, he threw him outside, and so did his 2 other companions. Then they continued to practice in an open space, and they did it every day. 3 years later, while Cain and Sylvia were discussing about the end of Millie and Nina's contract in teaching him, he thought of something that he could give as a token of gratitude. He remembered that Millie wanted a magic bag, so he immediately went to the forest of monsters to get the necessary materials for it. He thought that the red bag would be nice for Millie, so he chose the blood ogre and quickly defeated it. While for Nina was the color green, so he targeted and defeated the earth dragon. By the time Millie and Nina spent their last day teaching Cain, he had given them the magic bags. When they found out where he got the materials he used to make the bags, both of them were shocked. What surprised them even more was the ability of the bag that could accept an entire mansion in it, because the only magic bag that Millie planned to buy could only fit 2 carriages in it. 2 years later, the entire family of Cain went to the royal capital to attend the meeting which the sons and daughters of the nobles had to be present. While they were on their way, Cain used the search magic, and he detected soldiers who were fighting the monsters 3 kilometers away from them. He immediately informed his father, so his father sent their 2 soldiers ahead. But Cain knew that they would not reach them on time, so he decided to head there. Using the wind magic boost, he quickly reached the area and defeated most of the monsters with his air cutter and air bullet. For the remaining monster, he took his sword and used the fire sword technique. After a few moments, the two soldiers arrived, and they were surprised that Cain was already there. When a wounded soldier fell down, Cain used his healing magic to heal all the wounded soldiers. Cain's father also arrived there, and when he saw the crest of the carriage, he immediately recognized it, because it belonged to a duke. Then the door of the carriage opened, Princess Telestia and the duke's daughter, named Silk, appeared to them. The princess was still not feeling well, so Cain used the relax magic to make them feel better. Because of this, the girls immediately competed over Cain. And since they were both going to the royal capital, they took him in their carriage. When they arrived at the royal capital, they were met by the vice-captain of the Royal Chivalric Order, named Diem. When he found out that Cain saved the princess and Silk, Diem showed his gratitude for his bravery. Then he also said that the king wanted to see him. When he faced the king, he was recognized because of what he had done, and the king proclaimed him a baron. Apart from this, he was also rewarded with 10 platinum coins and a mansion. Corgino tried to oppose it, but it still did not change the king's decision. After this, he waited in a room with his father, then the king spoke to him again in a private conversation. The king was with the duke, named Eric, who was Silk's father, and he also wanted to thank him personally for saving his daughter. Both the king and the duke asked Cain to marry Telestia and Silk when the three of them came of the right age. It turned out that before they could even meet that day, the three talked about what they could offer to Cain. At first, Cain could not answer them, even his father did not react on this, and since he could not do anything about it, he decided to agree on their proposal. When they got back, he visited the gods, and Xenom asked him if he could create something from his past life. Then he thought that if he could create something that had not yet existed in this world, it would become popular right away. One day, when he accompanied his sister Rain to shop for clothes, he met Parma, who was with her uncle, named Tamanis. He also entered his shop to look at the items that he was selling. That was the time when he also shared with them about his hobby, and he wanted them to create the item and sell it. When he showed Tamanis how it looked, Tamanis liked it, so Cain gave him gold to create its prototype. The next day Sylvia informed him that he was asked by Tamanis to visit his store. When he got Tamanis showed the prototype that he had made, and it was exactly what Cain was expecting, and he called it Reversi. Because of this, he added more gold for its production. To make sure that no one would create something like this within 3 years, they created a contract and presented it to the god of commerce. When he returned home, he was asked to prepare for the debut ceremony. Then he arrived at the palace, and saw Corgino and his son Habit. After a while, his father called him, who was with Eric and Silk. They had a little conversation until the king arrived with the queen and Telestia. Each family lined up to pay respect to the royal family. When it was Cain who faced them, he showed the Reversi. The king was interested in this, and wanted to know more about it after the ceremony. When they got down to the ballroom, Silk invited Cain to talk. After a while, Habit approached them with his friends. They had a conversation, but Habit got annoyed with Cain, so he told him to have a duel outside. Habit's two companions showed their powers, but turned out that they were too weak. It was here that Silk told them that Cain was not the Baron's son, but the Baron himself. She also mentioned that Cain was the one who saved her and Telestia from the 30 orcs that. The boys were shocked, for they did not know that Cain was the rumored child who defeated the orcs led by an orc general. Because of this, the three bowed to Cain and immediately left. After the ceremony, Cain showed to the king and Eric how to play the Reversi. In the same day, Magna also gave him the key to the mansion given by the king. When he went to the mansion, he did not expect that the other parts of it needed to be renovated. But when he entered it, he easily fixed the mansion with his power. Sylvia also arrived there with their new butler, named Colin. Then he returned to their family's mansion because his brothers went home. They talked about his new mansion, and after they ate, his parents and Rain went with him to check it out. It was only a few moments when they heard Sylvia's scream, so they quickly went to her. It turned out that she was shocked when she saw the mounted red dragon that Cain brought after he defeated it in the forest. His father could not believe that he defeated it, because it was a calamity-class monster that even an A-rank adventurers were having a hard time defeating it. Before his parents and Rain go home, his father told him that he had to host a party as one of the rules in owning a mansion. Since Cola knew that this was going to happen, he immediately prepared the list of the names of those people who would be invited in the party. From that moment on, they had prepared for the upcoming party. When the day came and during the party, the attendees enjoyed the drinks and food prepared by Cain. Even the king immediately noticed the innovations done on the preparations for that night. Corgino also came there just to give his negative comments on Cain's mansion. Even though he enjoyed the drinks and the food, he still refused to admit it. Cain let his scolding continue until he felt that the king was approaching them. When he was already in front of them, Corgino immediately bowed down because he did not expect that the king would be there. The king warned him because of what he was doing, that's why Corgino quickly moved away. One day, Cain went to the palace to leave the bodies of the monsters he defeated. Diam took him to a warehouse, but Cain told him that the monsters would not fit in it. Diam was surprised to know that Cain brought an earth dragon, so he could not do anything but put it outside for the meantime. When Cain released the monsters, Diam asked him if he was a hero or a disciple of the gods, but Cain immediately denied this. He was about to leave, but Diam stopped him because he still wanted Cain to help in training the soldiers so he could also meet their captain. He had no other choice but come with him. Then he was introduced to the palace soldiers and Diam wanted Cain to fight with them. Another soldier was concerned and was hesitant in doing it because he was just a child. So in order to see his ability, he was the first one whom Diam ordered to fight against Cain. This soldier asked Cain to attack first, so he followed its command, and with Cain's great speed, he defeated the soldier immediately. Because of this, Diam thought of letting all the 30 soldiers to attack Cain all at once. When they were about to attack, their captain, named Tefana, suddenly came and stopped the fight. She reprimanded the soldiers as well as Diam, so Diam told her that this child became famous for defeating 30 orcs in order to save the princess. Because of this, Tefana immediately challenged Cain to a duel. Cain was worried because he only had a wooden sword, while Tefana had a real sword. But Tefana did not care and immediately attacked him. The soldiers could not believe that even with their captain, Cain was still able to keep up, and they also noticed that he was even faster this time. Until Cain used his magic to make him move even faster, and it was here that he defeated Tefana. Because of this, Tefana fell on Cain's charm, and she also wanted to marry him. She introduced herself to Cain, who was also a daughter of a duke and the one who supervised the northern forest. He ordered Diam to bring Cain because they were going to the king and talk to him. When Cain heard this, he immediately thought about what the king would say. When they met the king, Tefana directly informed him of her intention to marry Cain, and all who heard were surprised by this. In this conversation, they also talked about the land of the elves and their history on how they became part of the kingdom of Esfort. Because they still have their own government, Tefana could still be considered a princess of this race, and this meant that Cain received a proposal from a princess. Then they explained to Cain what this meant, and the king also informed Tefana of Cain's status with Telestia and Silk. They thought Tefana would be discouraged by this, but she was even more excited to marry Cain. The king could do nothing about it and told her to write a letter to her father, named Lyson, to let him know about her decision. Tefana immediately left there and took Cain with her. The king could not believe when he learned that Cain had defeated Tefana because she was their strongest knight. They were wondering where Cain's strength was coming from, and since Garm could not answer it either, Magna thought that they should try another way that they could think of. While Cain was resting after his duel with Tefana, he met Diam. He mentioned the things Tefana was doing. Suddenly, he heard Tefana's voice, and when he was about to run away, Diam immediately grabbed him and brought him to the king. The king showed the book that contained the emperor-level magic texts which was handed down to the royal family, and it was also written by the first king, named Yuya. When Cain opened it, he was amazed at the high levels of magic written on it. Because of his reaction, the king told him that none of them understood what was written in this book. It was only here that Cain realized that the texts were written in Japanese. Then he immediately remembered the name of the first king who was possibly the same as him and was reincarnated from the country of Japan. At this moment, all of them became more suspicious, and the king asked him who he really was. Cain knew that it would be difficult for him to lie anymore in his situation. So he decided to tell the truth, with the condition that only those in the room should know what he was going to say, and the king agreed to it. Then he started to tell that he had a memory of his previous life. He added that he lived in a country called Japan, where the first king might also have come from. He made it clear to his father that he was still their son because this was what the gods had told him. They were once again surprised because he could also talk to the gods, and not just one god but all the gods. The king begged him to show his status, and when he showed this, it was full of incredible titles and degrees. The king said that in such status even the whole world would bow to him. But he made it clear right away that this was not what he wanted to happen. He was currently satisfied with his life to have a whole family because in his past life, he was an orphan. The king immediately understood what he wanted to say, and they still recognized him as Garm's son. Suddenly, Tefana came there with her father's letter which stated that she was allowed to marry Cain. Because of this, she once again took Cain so that they could fight again. 2 years later, when he was 12 years old, he went to the palace's library to read the book written by the first king. Yuya wrote in the book how he came to this world while he was still in his original body. He was surprised because unlike him, he woke up in another person's body. Suddenly, he was startled when Telestia and Silk came to invite him to study because the academy entrance exam was approaching. But he rejected both of them and he left the room. Then Tefana saw him and invited him to a duel, which he also immediately rejected. He was in a hurry because this day was important for him, since he could already register as an adventurer. When he went to the guild, he met a man there. Since he was about to register, the man gave him an advice. He noticed the color of the man's hair that seemed familiar to him. Then he approached the receptionist, named Risha, and registered his name. Since he did not want to put the word Baron, he only wrote Cain on the form. She gave him a card, and his first rank in the guild was a rank G. After a while, 3 men approached Risha. One of them tried to kick Cain, but he quickly dodged it. His 2 other colleagues also attacked him, but he just played with them. A man was about to draw a sword when he stopped him, and the man he met earlier also approached them. It turned out to be Claude and he challenged his opponent, but the man did not fight him and quickly left. Claude noticed his movements and felt that Cain was strong. He invited Cain for a talk, and Claude mentioned that he was a member of the Ice Flame Party. He told him that he used a flame sword and his wife used ice magic. Claude also showed the gold card, and Cain immediately knew that he was an A-rank adventurer. But Claude humbly said that his rank was still far compared to their first king, who was an SSS rank. After a while, Lena, who was Claude's wife, came there. She dragged Claude because they were about to leave for a quest. Then Cain went to check for his first mission. He took the task in getting rid of the goblins, and when he got out of the guild, Tefana, who was with Dayam, saw him. When Tefana learned what he was going to do, she decided to accompany him and left to Dayam the task that they needed to do as their work. When they got to the forest, Cain used the search magic and he detected many goblins who were surrounding a person. They hurried to go to the area, and when they arrived there, they saw scattered food and broken bottles. When they saw the man lying on the ground, they immediately approached to save him from the goblins. More of these creatures came, so he gave Tefana more magic to fight the enemies. Because of this, Tefana quickly defeated a lot of goblins. After a while, another group of green lizards appeared to them. Cain told Tefana to bring the man they saved away from that area, and he would take care of the green lizards. When Tefana and the man left, Cain used the light ball to dazzle the green lizards, then he used the ice pillar to defeat them immediately. A few moments later, Millie and Nina came there because they intended to fight the green lizards, but they only found a big hole, and they could not find any of these creatures anymore. When Cain returned to the guild, he told Risha that he was able to defeat many green lizards. Because of this, Risha immediately went to the guild chief, named Cedric, to inform him about it. He summoned Cain, but he was thinking that Cain was just lying in order to get the reward. And in order to punish Cain's alleged fraud, he decided to remove him from being an adventurer. But Eden came into the room, who was the guild master, and asked what was happening. After watching Cain, he laughed because Cedric had no idea of what he was saying. So he let Tefana in the room, who immediately hugged Cain. It was only here that Risha and Cedric found out that Cain was Tefana's fiancé, and he was also the famous boy who became a baron, and the son of the noble, named Graham. They had no idea about this because Cain did not put the title Baron. Cedric immediately apologized to Cain so that he would not be sentenced to execution. Then Eden decided to promote Cain to C rank because of what he accomplished that day. But Tefana revealed to them that the C rank was not even enough for Cain's status, because he also killed the red dragon when he was only 10 years old, and he was also stronger than her. So Eden thought of making Cain an A rank if he could catch bandits. In addition to this, there were also quests that would be directly assigned to him by the guild, in order for him to be eligible to be an A rank. On the other hand, the gods were watching him, and the rest of them were thinking if it was right that they granted Cain a level 10 protection. It was the moment when Xenom mentioned the possible destruction of the seal on Aaron which surprised the other gods. It had been 300 years since Aaron was exiled, and they were worried about what he might do if he ever returned. Because of this, they all thought that Cain should become strong immediately, and they remembered a person who could help a lot to strengthen him. The night, when Cain got home, he was happy that he got his gold card. The day of the academy entrance exam arrived, and Cain noticed that no one on the list as his roommates was familiar to him, and none of them had attended the debut party. When the exam started, it was easy for him because his memory in his past life helped him a lot, and he also studied history well. In just 30 minutes, he had finished the exam right away. Next was the magic ability assessment, and this excited him so much. He asked the teacher if they could use their full strength in beginner-level magic. And their teacher said that there would be no problem since there was a defensive barrier that surrounded the area. When they started, Cain witnessed and realized the magic level of a 12-year-old student when he saw them showing off their skill in creating a fireball. When it was his turn to do the test, their teacher and the others were surprised when the fireball he created turned into blue. Because it was powerful, it pierced through the wall and caused severe damage to the affected area. Because of this, the teachers immediately checked behind the wall to see if anyone had been hurt, while the students were told to go straight to the swordsmanship exam. As the test continued, the academy invited some A-rank adventurers for the exam, and one of them was Claude, who immediately chose Cain to test its knowledge on sword handling. But Cain could not refuse it because the teacher told him to obey. When they started, he used the boost magic, and the other children were stunned by Cain's speed as he exchanged attacks with him. Since Claude enjoyed their fight, he also used the boost magic, and their battle intensified. The teacher suddenly made them stop, because he was concerned about the other children who were witnessing the extreme sword fight. That was the end of their entrance exam, and the students were told to go back on the day when the list of passers will be announced. One day, the king summoned him to the castle because of what he did in the entrance exam. Cain reasoned that he only used a beginner-level magic because he knew what would happen if he used the emperor-level magic. They were all shocked when they found out that Cain could also use the emperor-level magic. The king also mentioned that Telestia and Silk did not see him in the entrance exam. They learned that Cain did not go through the north entrance, which was for the nobles, but he entered through the south entrance, which was for ordinary people. Then Eric realized why the headmaster of the academy also talked to him about an ordinary kid who had perfected the written exam, who also damaged the training area and could keep up with an A-rank adventurer. Eric just laughed at this because he knew that the headmaster was referring to Cain. When the result of the entrance exam came out, and while Cain was looking at it, Silk approached him. She informed him that she got top 1, while Telestia came in second, and he was on the 3rd rank. On the first day of class, Alka became their homeroom teacher, and before their class started, she asked them to choose their course of study. Cain chose adventuring, nobility, magic and magic items. After their class, they saw Habit oppressing a demi-human in the lobby, and it turned out to be Parma. Habit was blaming Parma for not getting into Class A. So they want her to go home, and that was the moment when Cain approached them. The boys were surprised to know that Parma was Cain's friend. Silk and Telestia also intervened, and this caused Habit and his friends to bow down and leave quickly. Then Cain was asked by Telestia and Silk to distance himself from them because they wanted to talk to Parma alone. Suddenly, Cain heard a voice and it was telling him to go to the library. He went to the library alone, and when he opened the door, he saw a mansion. After a while, he was transported inside it and saw a man preparing coffee. He was surprised that there was coffee in this world, but he was even more surprised that this guy also knew his name in his previous life. It turned out to be Yuya, and they were in a world he created himself, called Fabniel. Yuya learned about him from Xenom himself, and the gods begged him to train Cain. But Cain felt that he was already too strong to train, so Yuya challenged him to try snatching the cookie from his hand. Cain failed to get it, and he was surprised that Yuya even able to draw a sword and pointed it at him. Cain asked him why he needed to get stronger, so Yuya informed him that one day he would fight against someone who had immense power. And the chaos that happened 300 years ago was caused by none other than the evil god, named Aaron. Yuya added that it had been 300 years since they were able to seal Aaron, but they fear that the seal was starting to lose its power. Cain asked him why he did not seal it again. Yuya answered that he could not do it because he was already the god of this world, and like any other god, he must not interfere in other worlds. To begin Cain's training, Yuya brought him to the sea. In order to complete the task, he still needed to get the cookie from Yuya. Aside from the sword he received, he was also given a compass that would guide him to Yuya's mansion. Yuya informed him that he was at level 300 and he needed to reach level 600 so he could somehow keep up with Aaron during their upcoming battle. Cain became worried about his studies, but Yuya told him not to worry because a year in this world was just equal to a day in the other world. When Yuya left, he immediately entered the forest and faced the challenges along the way. He fought against a lot of beasts there that he immediately weakened after a few minutes. Suddenly, he saw a creature that was about to die, and even though his magic was very low, he still tried to heal it. Then he lost consciousness, and when he woke up, he saw the creature that he healed fighting the monsters just to protect him. So he decided to take it with him and named it Haku. Haku became a great help to him in fighting the monsters that they encountered. For years later, they successfully reached Yuya's mansion. Yuya was inside it and was waiting for his arrival. When Yuya noticed Haku, it was the moment when Cain found out that Haku was a holy beast, called Fenrir. Yuya added that it could also have a contract with him if Haku trusted him that much, so they did it. Cain tried to hide Haku, and it worked right away. Then Yuya introduced Dara, who would be the next one to train him. Before they start the next training, Yuya told Cain other details about Aaron. He said that Aaron was the former god of amusement, who was also with Xenon before. Cain immediately remembered the empty seat whenever he talked to the gods. And the reason why there were no games or entertainment in their world was because Aaron was no longer there. It started when Aaron used an oracle and involved all the innocent people in the death game. And once Aaron came back to their world, the death game would start again. Cain did not want this to happen, so Yuya told him that he needed to get stronger in order to stop Aaron. After that, he and Dara started their training, and on their first day, Cain immediately lost against his opponent with just one blow. Because of this, Dara took Cain to his house and there he met Dara's wife, named Ruri. The couple also had a pet, and it was a small dragon, called Gain. Meanwhile, Telestia and Silk were at Cain's mansion to learn how to make cookies, and they were waiting for Cain's return. In the following days of Cain's training with Dara, he was able to withstand his blows, and return home conscious. Another information that Yuya revealed to Cain was about his parents, named Seiya and Megumi, who were with Yuya when they went to another world. The woman named Marine was the one who summoned them, and pleaded to save their world from Aaron. They also talked to the gods, who gave them a crystal ball that they could use to seal Aaron. The day when they sealed Aaron was also the same day that Cain or Kazuya's parents die in the battle. This made Cain train hard and successfully defeated Dara, then he immediately went to the grave of his parents and cried. Time passed by, when Yuya showed the cookie, and at last, Cain was able to snatch it from him. This was also the day that Cain's training ended. So he decided that he was going to come back to his world, and because he had grown taller, Yuya returned him first to his old form as a child. Dara also came there and sent Cain to be with him. Before they left, Yuya handed him a katana and told Cain to give it to the current king. When he entered his mansion, Telestia and Silk were still there who prepared cookies for him. Then he immediately went to the king to tell him that he and the first king had met in another world. At first, they doubted this information, but when Cain brought out the katana, they believed him. Eric also informed Cain about the notice from the guild because he forgot to accept the quest that would help him advance to A rank. And if he would not act on it immediately, his registration in the guild would be cancelled. Because of this, he immediately went to the guild to talk to Eden. Just like what Eden said before, he had to hunt bandits. He started it right away, and after a few minutes of searching, he saw the bandits attacking a group of travelers. He quickly went to them, and it turned out that Millie and Nina were there, and they were escorting Sabinos. After he healed Millie's wound, he beat up the bandits one by one. When they found out that Kane's mission was to catch bandits, they were surprised because he had just registered at the guild, and this quest was only for C rank or higher ranks. When he showed his gold card, they were shocked and felt envy that he was now an A rank. They brought the bandits to the guild, and while Kane was talking to Risha, the girls were once again being disturbed by Cross's group. As soon as Kane stopped them, they trembled with so much fear and immediately left. Claude was also there, and Kane found out that Claude and Millie were actually siblings. While they were having a conversation, Claude also found out that Kane was now an A-rank adventurer. Even though Claude was surprised by this, he never doubted that it would happen because he knew about Kane's ability. When Millie and Nina showed their magic bag, Lena begged Kane if he could make her a magic bag too. But she suddenly fell asleep because of being drunk. Kane remembered that he still had to come to school the next day, so he went home right away. Then they noticed Risha as if she was looking for something, so they asked her. It turned out that she was looking for an adventurer who could take over for the adventuring class, because the adventurer assigned for this quest got injured. Claude came up with a good idea, so he accepted it. The next day, while Kane was in magic class, he was forbidden to use magic while inside the school. He felt bad because he would only watch his classmates. Claude and the girls saw this, and they also felt sorry for Kane. When the swordsmanship class started, Claude and his companions showed up in the room. Since all the students were already registered in the guild, Claude told them to bring out their guild cards. Kane refused to show his guild card to his classmates because he could imagine how they would react to it. Because of this, he lied that he had left his guild card at home. While they were in the training area, the students had a duel with Claude one by one. Unfortunately for Kane, he was still at the end of the line. When it was Kane's turn to fight, they started right away, but when their swords collided, the time in class had ended. Kane was annoyed at Claude, so he poured out his anger in the forest, and this caused the soldiers and his father to think that it was the work of the Prince of Darkness. The king summoned him because his father sent a message about an attack in the forest, which they believed to be the work of the Prince of Darkness. Then he asked Kane if he received any warnings from the gods. When they realized that Kane was hiding something, the king threatened him, so Kane admitted that he was the one who did it. Meanwhile, the gradual weakening of the seal made Aaron feel that his return was about to come, and he was currently using the body of a black dragon. One day in Kane's class, they had a lesson about summoning magic. The teacher, who also worked as a palace mage, named Grat, was with them. They were asked to try the magic circle summoning, and others were able to form a contract with the creatures they released. When Kane tried it, they did not expect that it would be a demon. Kane heard that this man called himself the Prince of Darkness, so he immediately created magic to dazzle the others. When the Prince of Darkness saw his status, he stood up and approached Kane. As he pulled out his sword, the Prince of Darkness suddenly fell to his knees and begged him for forgiveness. He wanted to form a contract with Kane, and told him to just summon him if they were about to destroy a nation. The Prince of Darkness introduced himself as Seth, and he convinced Kane to make the contract with him. But before Seth left, he reminded Kane to just call him if he wanted to destroy nations. Since Grat also heard that Seth introduced himself as the Prince of Darkness, he asked Kane to confirm it, but he lied and said that they did not form the contract. Kane thought that he was already saved, but Grat informed the king about it. Because of this, Kane admitted that he formed the contract with the Prince of Darkness. Even though it surprised them, the king also thought that maybe it was because Kane strengthened himself after he underwent training with the first king. When they asked to see Kane's status, he showed it to them, and they were all shocked that he was now a demigod. Because of this, the king decided to make Kane a viscount, and give him his own town near the capital. This was to test Kane if he would be worthy to lead a nation. If he became successful, the king would announce the engagement of Kane and the princess. When Kane got home, Colin informed him of what the adventurers observed in the forest of monsters. Because of this, he went home to their mansion, and since his father was still on his way back, his older brother, named Jean, was the one who talked to him. He told Kane about all the experiences of the high-ranking adventurers whom they sent to the forest of monsters. They said that they saw signs of an attack, which was almost identical to the incident that happened decades ago when the monsters came out of the forest. Since what they observed were only signs, they could do limited things to act on it. Kane decided that he would go to the forest of monsters, but he would go to their guild first to gather information about it. Since he was making a transaction to a new receptionist in the guild, she could not recognize him, but she was surprised to see Kane's gold card. Rudy came and she was the one who gave him information about the forest of monsters. A few moments later, Millie and Nina, who were also assigned by the guild to join the investigation in the forest, also arrived there. They said that they were just waiting for Claude and Lena so they could start their mission. Rudy asked Kane on what he was planning to do, and he said that he would now check the forest so he could get more information as soon as possible. When he entered the forest, he summoned Haku and Gain. He also felt as if someone was watching him, but he could not identify who it was. Because of this, he summoned Seth and hoped that the Prince of Darkness could help him. Just like Kane's suspicion, Seth felt something strange around them too. He said that it was looking for powerful monsters and was trying to get them. Seth called his disciple Dalmatia to help them. When he saw Kane, he was also surprised to know the power that Kane possessed, and he also bowed down to him. According to Seth, Dalmatia was one of the former members of the 4 Heavenly Kings, and he was skilled at investigating. Dalmatia brought out his disciples who were used to investigate, and he began the search. The other monster came out, so Kane quickly defeated them too. Then he left Seth and Dalmatia to bring the monsters that he had beaten to the town. As soon as the disciples of Dalmatia found out something, they went to it. Aaron immediately felt the presence of Seth and Dalmatia, and the two were surprised to see so many monsters in that area. It was the moment that Aaron ordered the monsters to move towards the town. Seth immediately left to go to Kane, then Kane also felt his presence. When he came out, Seth was there to inform him about the approaching monsters. Kane assigned Claude and the others to protect the town, while he would return to the forest. When they were about to leave, Tefana came there, who was also asked by Kane's father for help with the royal chivalric order. So Kane also begged her to go with Claude and the others to protect the town. While Dalmatia was currently fighting the monsters in the forest. A few moments later, Kane arrived there, and using his inferno, he repeatedly attacked the monsters that were heading to the town. They sensed that Aaron was nearby, and he also sensed Kane as one of Xenon's followers. After Nina detected the approaching monsters, Millie decided to enter the forest as well. At first, they were worried about what she wanted to do, but when they heard her reason in doing it, the three also decided to go along with her. Seth told Kane to go ahead to the beast's lair, and he would take care of the monster in that area. When Kane left, Seth called the current 4 Heavenly Kings. They acted quickly to attack the monsters, while Kane was able to reach Aaron's location. Aaron once again unleashed more monsters to attack the town. When Claus and the others entered the forest, they saw Seth and the 4 Heavenly Kings fighting the monsters. They also started to face the monsters that were heading towards the town. After a few minutes of fighting against the monsters, they were having trouble about the sheer number of them. Fortunately, Tefana came there with the chivalric order to help them. When Aaron saw Kane's eyes, he remembered again the people who sealed him, who were Kane's parents. He attacked Kane, so Kane tried to fight him with his inferno, but it did not work. The enemy continued to attack him, so Kane decided to summon Haku and Gain. While they dodged Aaron's attacks, the enemy was able to endure Haku. Because of this, Aaron had the opportunity to attack Haku again, but Gain immediately blocked it to save Haku. Kane quickly went down to stop Aaron's attack, then he used the Emperor-level magic. Aaron remembered something similar to this light, and Kane used the Saint Sanctuary that Aaron tried to block. It created an intense light that everyone could see. As Kane continued to release his great power, he was suddenly stopped by Haku and Gain. It turned out that he did not know that the black dragon which Aaron used had already been dissolved, and his great power already damaged the forest. The monsters that Aaron had released also retreated. Because of this, they successfully saved the town and its citizens. Then Kane was summoned by the king regarding the promise that he would be given a town to rule as a viscount, and it was in Dorenthal. When Tefana heard this, it was only then that Kane found out that this town had a serious problem. She informed him that there were many nobles previously assigned to lead this town, but they just ran away from it. Telestia was about to protest to her father, but Kane stopped her because he was even more excited about it. Kane added that he would make this a renewed town. One day, the king received the news about Kane's visit to Dorenthal. On his first day in this town, the guild tried to bully him, but he just beat them all. Even those who oppressed a demi-human were kicked by him, that's why the town guards even tried to arrest him. While he was having coffee with Telestia and Silk, Seth appeared to them. His wife kicked him out because he was caught cheating. After a while, his wife, named LaFawn, also appeared and dragged Seth back to get his explanation. Cain had already started to repair the Doranfall, and he began by putting up the walls. Then he also created a castle which was even more beautiful than the king's palace. The king could not believe this, but the gods were amazed by Cain's wit. This is the end of the Chronicles of an Aristocrat Reborn in Another World. I hope you like it. Please give it a thumbs up. Thank you for watching.